Shalom. In this session, we're going to be talking about Shavuot. And Shavuot is the 12th chapter in the book To Be a Jew by Chaim Donin Halevi. Shavuot commemorates the awesome event experienced by the children of Israel 7 weeks after their exodus from Egypt, when they camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula. This event was the revelation when God's will was revealed to Israel. It marked the declaration of the 10 Commandments. Though these commandments do not constitute the entire Torah, which consists of 613 commandments, Tariag Mitzvot, they were its foundation. These 10 commandments also became the moral bedrock for much of Western civilization. While the exact manner of this communication between God and man is not known and was always subject to various opinions by the great thinkers and sages of Israel, it was an event of awesome proportions and a unique spiritual experience that indelibly stamped the Israelites with their unique character, their faith, and their destiny. In the prayer book, this festival is referred to as Zman Matan Toratenu, which means the season of the giving of our Torah. Zman means time or season. Matan is the giving. And Toratenu, Torah is Torah. And the Enu part right here, Toratenu, means our. For this is the dominant theme of the festival. The everlasting significance of this theme is emphasized by the answer to the question of why this festival is not called the season of the receiving of our Torah. Instead, the answer is that while the giving may have taken place at one time and the occasion can be commemorated, the receiving of the Torah by Jews must continue to take place every day and everywhere. While the Jews who were present at Sinai affirmed their covenant with God, declaring, "We will do and we will listen, na'aseh v'nishma." The Torah emphasizes that neither with you only do I make this covenant, but with him that standeth here with us, and also with him that is not here with us this day. And that's from Deuteronomy 29, verse 13 to 14. So the Talmud interprets the latter part of the verse as a clear reference also to future generations of Jews and to the future proselytes or converts who would later accept the faith. That's from the Talmud in Shavuot 39a. The festival of Shavuot emphasizes the spiritually significant lesson that the release from bondage and the winning of political freedom does not constitute complete freedom unless it culminates in the spiritual restraints, disciplines, and duties inherent in the revelation to Israel, and in Israel's acceptance of the Torah. The name Shavuot, by which name the Torah refers to the festival, means simply weeks. So Shavua is week, Shavuot is plural, weeks, and is derived from the fact that it is observed after 7 full weeks of counting from the second day of the Passover. The Talmud used the name Atzeret, which implies a concluding festival, by which to refer to it, an indication that the sages regarded it as tied to and concluding the festival of Passover. Its significance as an agricultural festival in the land of Israel is also reflected by 2 other names by which this festival is known. Hag HaKatzir, the festival of the harvest, for it marks the harvesting of the wheat, the last grain harvest of the season, and Yom HaBikurim, the day of the first fruits, for it also marks the beginning of the fruit harvest and was the occasion for the bringing of the first ripe fruits to the temple as an offering of thanksgiving. So right now we are on the 3rd Jewish month, according to the Torah. So the first month is Pesach, right? And it usually occurs around March and April. The first month is called Nisan, and in this month of Nisan, we celebrate Pesach, that's Passover on the 14th day, and that usually falls somewhere in March or April. And then the next month, the second month of the Jewish calendar is Iyar. Now I'm talking about the Jewish calendar starting from when Israel was born as a nation. Now we know that the Jewish New Year is Rosh Hashanah, and that is based on the creation of the world. But this is based on the beginning of the Jewish nation. So we have Nisan. Second month is Iyar, which happens between April and May, and here we celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut and Lag BaOmer, which is the 33rd day of the Omer count. And then now we are in the month of Sivan, which usually falls in May, June. It's the end of May right now, and this is when we celebrate Shavuot. This is the third month, right? Now, you can see here in Exodus chapter 19, starting with verse 1, it says, "In the third month of the children of Israel's departure from Egypt, on this day they arrived in the desert of Sinai." So this could be interpreted as desert or also wilderness, okay? So here, this is the third month. This is the month of Sivan right here. And this, according to Exodus, according to the Torah, this is when we arrived in the desert of Sinai, or in the wilderness of Sinai. And then in verse 2, Pasuk Sheni, it says, "They journeyed from Rephidim, and they arrived in the desert of Sinai, and they encamped in the desert, and Israel encamped there opposite the mountain." So on the other side of the mountain, you might say, or in front of. You could even say in front of the mountain. So this is just a Torah. I just wanted to give that Torah reference of how, connecting the timing of Shavuot to the children of Israel receiving the Torah at Sinai. So the Talmud describes Shavuot, the day marking the giving of the Torah, as the wedding day between the Almighty and the Jewish people. The nation standing at the foot of Mount Sinai represents the couple standing under the canopy, while God's giving the Torah to the nation represents the groom placing the ring on his bride's finger. I think that is so beautiful. And in many Sephardic congregations, prior to the Torah reading on the first day of Shavuot, a ketubah, or a Jewish wedding contract, a ketubah leShavuot, a marriage certificate for Shavuot, is read as a symbolic betrothal of God and his people Israel. So there are also hymns based on the verses, "I'll betroth thee unto me forever, yea, I'll betroth thee unto me in righteousness and in justice and in loving kindness and in compassion. And I will betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know the Lord." That's from Hosea chapter 2, 21 to 22. And the most widely used text of a ketubah leShavuot is that of the prolific Safat mystic and poet Israel Nahara. Many of his piyutim are found in the liturgy of Oriental Jews, and a partial translation of his hymn, included in the Sephardic prayer book for Shavuot, is as follows. Friday, the 6th of Sivan, the day appointed by the Lord for the revelation of the Torah to his beloved people, the Invisible One came forth from Sinai, shone from Seir, and appeared from Mount Paran unto all the kings of the earth, in the year 2448, since the creation of the world, the era by which we are accustomed to reckon in this land, whose foundations were upheld by God, as it is written, "For he hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods." Psalms 24:2. The bridegroom, God, ruler of rulers, prince of princes, distinguished among the select, whose mouth is pleasing, and all of whom is delightful. Said unto the pious, lovely, and virtuous maiden, the people of Israel, who won his favor above all women, who is beautiful as the moon, radiant as the sun, awesome as bannered hosts, Many days wilt thou be mine, and I will be thy redeemer. Behold, I have sent thee golden precepts through the lawgiver Jekuthiel, Moses. Be thou my mate, according to the law of Moses in Israel, and I will honor, support, and maintain thee, and be thy shelter and refuge in everlasting mercy. And I will set aside for thee, in lieu of thy virginal faithfulness, the life-giving Torah, by which thou and thy children will live in health and tranquility. The bride Israel consented and became his spouse. Thus an eternal covenant, binding them forever, was established between them. The bridegroom then agreed to add to the above all future expositions of Scripture, including Sifra, Sifrei, Agadah, and Tosefta. He established the primacy of the 248 positive commandments that are incumbent upon all, and added to them the 365 negative commandments. The dowry that this bride brought forth from the house of her father consists of an understanding heart that understands, ears that hearken, and eyes that see. Thus the sum total of the contract and the dowry, with the addition of the positive and negative commandments, amounts to the following: revere God and observe his commandments. This applies to all mankind. Ecclesiastes 12:13. The bridegroom, desiring to confer privileges upon his people Israel, and to transmit these valuable assets to them, took upon himself the responsibility of this marriage contract, to be paid from the best portions of his property. All these conditions are valid and established forever and ever. The bridegroom has given his oath to carry them out in favor of his people, and to enable those that love him to inherit substance. Thus the Lord has given his oath. The bridegroom has followed the legal formality of symbolic delivery of this document, which is bigger than the earth and broader than the seas. Everything then is firm, clear, and established. I invoke heaven and earth as reliable witnesses. May the bridegroom rejoice with the bride whom he has taken as his lot, and may the bride rejoice with the husband of her youth while uttering words of praise. So back here to Exodus chapter 19. God is here, especially in verse 5, he says, if you obey me and keep my covenant, you shall be to me a treasure out of all peoples, and a kingdom of princes and a holy nation. And he tells Moshe to speak these words to the children of Israel. And after Moses did that, it says the people replied in unison and said, all that the Lord has spoken, we shall do. And it reminds me of, it's like Moshe is like the rabbi officiating in the ceremony, or, a clergyman officiating in the ceremony. And then the bride, Israel, saying, yes, I do. I take this man to be my husband. So one thing that I thought that was interesting is before the commandments were given, and the passage that we just read, Israel answered it, all that God has spoken, we will do. And the sages say that it says we will do, instead of everyone saying I will do, because we are accountable for each other. Not only do we have to keep the mitzvot, but we have to help and encourage others to make sure that our fellow Jews are also keeping the mitzvot. And then later, after the commandments were given, it says that they said everything that Hashem has said, we will do and we will hear. That's Naaseh v'nishma in Hebrew. So Naaseh is we will do, v'nishma is we will hear, and that is the same as Shema, hear Israel. But the sages say that this word nishma doesn't just mean to hear. It's a lot deeper than that. It's not like a passive hearing. It's a real grasping, real trying to understand what's being said. And so back then a written Torah was very rare. It was not very accessible. So the way to study the Torah was to hear it, being said, was to hear it being read, either from memory or read from the actual Torah scroll, either recited from memory or read out loud from a Torah scroll. And according to the Torah, that only happened, at least it was only commanded to be done during Sukkot. I think that's only every 7th year, though. So a lot of the Torah learning was based on memory and being passed down, within the family. Now, I think that something that I get from this is that a lot of times we don't really understand, or, because that word Shema doesn't just mean hear, but also means to understand, right? To really learn and grasp it. And sometimes we don't really understand the mitzvot until we do them first. Sometimes we just have to take it by faith that, I don't know why God wants me to do this, but I'm just going to do it. And later on, we kind of hear it again restated in our inner voice, and then we realize why God commanded it, but only after we've experienced it for ourselves first. For example, when we study all of the laws of Shabbat, it doesn't seem very glorious sometimes. It just seems kind of, I don't know, just a bunch of rules. But if we actually do it, we see that these commandments, they kind of form like a spiritual structure that we dwell in. Shabbat becomes like a sanctuary, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, I believe, said that the Shabbat is like our sanctuary in time. And a sanctuary or a building has walls, has borders, has a roof and a ceiling, and that's what the commandments of Shabbat spiritually are. They form our that castle in time, and define what Shabbat is, so that we can dwell in Shabbat with the Holy One. And the last comment that I had is about the verse in Deuteronomy 29:13-14, where it says, "Not only with you do I make this covenant, but also with him that is not here with us this day." So, of course, it's talking about the Jews that were there, and also the Jews that would convert in the future, and also the offspring of the Jews that were there. Kabbalah says that all Jews of all time were there spiritually at Mount Sinai, accepting the Torah covenant, And some say that if you ever convert to Judaism, it means that your soul was there at Sinai too, which is kind of a beautiful thought, to see ourselves, at Sinai, spiritually. There's a midrash that speaks of flames of fire which came to each individual at Sinai. It says, on the occasion of the giving of the Torah, the children of Israel not only heard the Lord's voice, but actually saw the sound waves as they emerged from the Lord's mouth. They visualized them as a fiery substance. Each commandment that left the Lord's mouth traveled around the entire camp and then came back to every Jew individually. The second miracle in the Midrash says, and all the people witnessed the thunderings. Exodus 20:15. Note that it does not say the thunder, but the thunderings. Wherefore, Rabbi Yohanan said that God's voice, as it was uttered, split up into 70 voices in 70 languages, so that all the nations should understand. Now, that seems to say, now, whether that's true or not, I think it's that I think what's more important is the point that the Midrashim are trying to make, which I think the most important one I get here is that this Torah that was spoken, which includes the 10 Commandments, it was not meant for only Israel. It was meant for the 70 voices the 70 languages, which is symbolic of all the nations of the world in Judaism. So even though the Torah was given to the Jewish people, we are to be a light to give this Torah also to the rest of the world, to the 70 nations, so to speak. So the custom of eating dairy food on Shavuot. Special foods or dishes characteristic of certain festivals are often a result of some religious symbolism. Thus, it has become customary on Shavuot to eat at least one dairy meal during the holiday. Some see this as symbolizing a land flowing with milk and honey. Others see it as emphasizing on this festival, which marks the giving of the Torah, the interdependence and unity of the written and oral Torah. For the very same verses that speak of bringing the choicest first fruits of the land unto the house of the Lord your God, in celebration of Shavuot, also stresses that you must not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Exodus 23:19 and 34:26. On the basis of the latter part of these verses, the oral Torah based its prohibition of eating meat and milk together. Hence, a separate dairy meal is deliberately eaten to emphasize the total unity of the verse and the authenticity of the oral Torah. So the Rambam in the Mishneh Torah, I believe, is where I read this, states that there are 33 mitzvot, 33 commandments that were spoken to Moshe at Sinai. And that is the beginning, of course, of the oral Torah. But there's also, at least the legal portion of oral Torah. There's also the rulings of the Sanhedrin, which is also considered part of oral Torah. And there's also many legends, Agadot and Midrashim, that talk about, that elaborate, that expand upon many stories of the Torah. And some may be true, some may not be, but regardless of whether they are or not, they usually all give a very important lesson. And so I will be keeping this tradition on this Shavuot. I'm going to be making a cheese blintz loaf with berries and a salmon chowder, which has cream, and also a broccoli pot pie, which will also be cream based. So I'm not sure what my vegan friends are going to do, but that's what we're having. Have a happy Shavuot, everyone, for anyone who's celebrating it today. Actually, tonight. 30. It's going to be Shavuot tonight. And Shabbat Shalom as well. I'd like to invite you to visit my website at www.hebrewmayim.com. That's HEBREWMAYIM.com. And you can click on the button to sign up for free lessons, free Hebrew lessons, to your email, delivered every week or so. Sometimes I miss a week. Sometimes I'll send more than one email for that week. So again, just visit my website, HebrewMayim.com. And I also have special sections here. Not only can you sign up for free Hebrew lessons to your email, but you can also get my playlist to learn the Aleph Bet, even Aleph Bet with Elmo. And I also have a section on learning various Jewish prayers and blessings. I also have, you can see all of the Hebrew lessons from Genesis to Deuteronomy. And what else? Oh, I have a section on ancient Hebrew, learn how to pronounce the Hebrew letters in the ancient Hebrew pronunciation, the ancient Hebrew tongue. I have some lessons on how to trope or chant the Torah, specifically lessons for that. And then I also have links to if you're interested in getting more formal biblical Hebrew lessons or modern Hebrew lessons from a good friend in Israel. So you can check that out as well. So just visit my website at HebrewMayim.com. Shalom. Shalom, my name is Mayim, and I'm a naturopathic herbalist and holistic life coach, and I'm the founder of the Aruka Holistic Life Academy. Our students learn how to become effective healers using nutrition, herbs, and other holistic healing methods. I have found that to become a holistic healer, you, number one, don't need to be licensed, although some of our students are medical professionals, doctors, nurses, etc., but you don't need a medical degree or a license to become a holistic healer. Number two, you don't need to study for 4 or more years in college. And number three, you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars for a medical degree or a nutrition degree or any other kind of expensive degree. I don't have any of these things, yet I have built a profitable online health coaching business. And I'll tell you the 8 things, though, that I have found that you do need. Without these 8 things, healers are ineffective and lack confidence in being a holistic healer. And most holistic schools and certification programs don't incorporate all 8 of these secrets, which is why many graduate from them, from nutrition schools or health coaching schools or herbalist schools, etc., feeling inadequate as a healer. So I would like to share with you my secrets on how I became an effective holistic healer and built a profitable online health coaching business. You can become the healer of your home and your community without the need for pharmaceutical drugs with dangerous side effects, hospitals, doctors, or even dentists. You can build a profitable online health coaching business without the need for years of college for an expensive degree. My mission is to show you how. Visit my website at www.aruka.com/free to get my 8 secrets on how to become an effective holistic healer.